The processing of the economic data sets is a little bit more complicated. You will recall that when we downloaded the economic data, we downloaded 3 files for each year, 2 .csv files and a .txt file. The larger of the .csv files, the one with data in the name, contained the actual data, and we'll therefore refer to this, not surprisingly, as the data file. The smaller of the .csv files contained explanations for the various column names. So this one, for example, says that DP03001E is the estimate of the population of 16 years or over. Now, if you look at the data file again, you'll see that there are 2 problems. The first problem is that the second line, does not contain values that we want to use in our Tableau workbook. The second problem is that the names of the column headers are not meaningful. Also, whatever process we follow to get the 2018 data ready, we should follow for the other 3 data files as well. And we'll see 2 ways to achieve this. The problem with the second line not containing usable values can be solved by filtering, and the problem of non-meaningful names can be used by inspecting the metadata file. The data source that we're building in this module should contain information about unemployment levels in the population of 16 years or older, median family income, mean family income, per capita income, the percentage of the population with health insurance, the percentage of families below the poverty line, and the percentage of people below the poverty line. Now, and if you scan through the metadata file, you'll see that, for example, the unemployment rate is DP03_009PE. Turns out that the other ones are 0086E for the median family income, 87E for the mean family income, 88E for the per capita income, 96PE for the percentage of population with health insurance, 119PE for the percentage of families below the poverty line, and 128PE for the percentage of people below the poverty line. Obviously, we also need to keep the name, as this just tells us the state the data pertain to. And armed with this information, we can now start processing the economic data. So we're going to create a connection to the 2018 data set. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select the columns we want to keep. So I'm going to deselect all of them. Then we want to keep name. We also want to keep 9PE. Then we want to keep 86E. We want to keep 87E. We want to keep 88E. We want to keep 96PE. We want to keep 119PE. And we want to keep 128PE. And again, as we did before, we now click clean step, we add the clean step, and you'll see that we now only have the ones left that we wanted. The problem is that we still have the first line. Well, that can be solved by filtering. So if we go here and we filter by selected values, then you see that the one we want to get rid of is geographical area. So we click that and exclude it. Done. And now you see that that has been removed. It's important that you do it in this order, because if you first filter the first line, then you can't get rid of the unwanted columns anymore. It's also useful to give these things more meaningful names. So I'm going to switch to the list view. That gives me a list of all of the columns. This one is median family income. This one is mean family income. This one is per capita income. This is unemployment rate. This one is percentage with health insurance. Percentage families below the poverty line. And this one is percentage people below the poverty line. Okay, I'm going back to the this view and then click second clean step. Okay, and what this does now is removes all of the unwanted columns, and then it removes the line that we don't want. Okay, now what we can now do is we can form a box around these two steps. Okay, you see that the interface changes, and then we go File, Save Steps as Flow, and then we call it, I don't know, Economic Processing Flow. Okay, and we save this, and now we've saved that flow. And to show you that that may sometimes be useful, I now connect to the 2019 data as well. I need to go downloads. In fact, I can go to product download. 2019 data, open that up. And then I can insert a flow. And then I can use the economic processing data flow that we just did. And now what I can do is I can run that flow over so clicking on the clean two-step will run that flow. And it does some things right. So for example, we have moved the geographical area here, but we still keep all of the unwanted columns that we had. So this doesn't quite work, but it does show that if I have a flow that makes sense, then I can run it over different files. Okay, so this is not going to really work for us. So what I did was I made essentially that same flow. Let me get the right one. I made that same flow. Okay, so this is exactly what I did before. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an output step to it. And what you see is I have a number of different options for creating the output. By default, Tableau will create it as a Tableau data extract, a .hyper file. And the advantage of doing that is that it's fast. Loading it back into a Tableau workbook is fast. The drawback is that it's very hard to manipulate the data with any other program. And if you so I'm just going to save it as a .csv file, right? So I'm going to call that .csv, and I'm going to call this 2018 economic data. Okay, and then I can run the flow, and that will create the economic data file. Now, here's the trick. In order to rerun this flow, I'm going to click on the first step, and then rather than connecting this to the 2018 data, I'm going to connect this to the 2019 data. Then in the output step, I'm going to make that the 2019 economic data, okay, and I run the flow again. And you see it now runs the, creates the 2019 economic data set. Do it again, reconnect it to 2020. And the output, make it the 2020 economic data. And we can run that flow. And then finally, we do it for the 2021 data. And we're going to call that 2021 economic data. So in a sense, we're tricking Tableau Prep Builder by changing the connection in the first step in the flow and the output file in the last step of the flow. And when you do that, you will get your 4 different data sets, economic data sets processed. And what I've done is I've loaded them up and created a single file, processed ecomdata.xlsx, which you can download from the Canvas course.